A long time ago, in the 13th century, in the parish of Fach, in Carmarthenshire, there lived a widow and her only son. The widow owned a large number of sheep and cattle on her land, and her son helped her out with the cattle. One of his favourite tasks was to lead the cattle to pasture, and one of his favourite places to go was Llyn, Fach. One day, as he lay by the lake, the young man saw a stunningly beautiful girl sitting on the calm surface of the lake. She was combing her long flowing hair. He had never seen a woman so beautiful. He found he was unconsciously holding out the barley bread and cheese his mother had packed for him towards her. She appeared to be looking down at the water as if it was a mirror, when she must have felt the young man's gaze upon her as her gaze flew up to his. Seeing Llyn, the lady stopped combing her hair and moved gracefully over the water towards him to see what he was offering. Seeing the barley bread and cheese, she laughed and shook her head and said, "Hard-baked is your bread. It is not that easy to catch me." Immediately she dived under the water and disappeared, leaving the youth to return home still thinking about the beautiful young lady who had enchanted him. His mother advised him to return with some unbaked dough. She thought there must be some spell connected with the hard-baked bread, which stopped the lady accepting him. Before sunrise the next morning, Llyn set out for the lake with his unbaked loaf of barley bread and some cheese. Finding a comfortable spot by the water's edge, he settled down to watch the lake in hopes of seeing the beautiful lady of the lake again. As Llyn waited patiently, there was only a stiff breeze causing ripples on the surface of the lake, and a dark cloud hung over the summit of the fan. By late afternoon, he still not seen her, and he began to despair. As he turned for home, sunlight rippling off part of the lake caught his attention, and the lady appeared in all her loveliness. Speechless and in wonder, he offered her the unbaked bread. He held his hand out, trembling. She looked at the offering and laughed, her eyes sparkling, and said, "O thou of the moist bread, I will not have thee." For a moment their eyes met. She smiled kindly at him, and then quickly dived under the water. He walked home, his head held high all the way, with a smiling face and sparkling eyes filling his heart and his mind. The next day he left home very early, and on his mother's advice he carried some slightly baked bread. He waited impatiently for her to appear. Failing to notice the rain and the sunshine that came and went, or the cattle wandering near the steep slope, so intent was he on seeing the enchanting young lady. Noon came, and he sat watching the lake all through the afternoon and long into the evening, but he still did not see her. As dusk began to fall, he turned to go home, but out of the corner of his eye, he noticed some of his cows appeared to be standing on the surface of the lake. It was as if it was solid. Intrigued, he stared at them, and then to his delight, he saw her emerging from the water. She looked absolutely radiant, and he cried out with happiness. Seeing him, she began making her way towards him, and he splashed through the water, holding out the parched baked barley bread to her. Looking at the offering, she smiled and allowed him to take her by the hand and lead her to the shore. Llyn was spellbound, and once upon the shore he gazed at her in love and awe. Strangely, of all things, he noted that the sandal on her right foot was tied up in a very specific way. He tried to speak, but all he could manage to do was stutter. Fair lady of the lake, I have no silver, I have no gold, I have no riches, just love. Please marry me and be my wife." She agreed to become his wife, and on one condition, that, should she ever receive from him 3 blows without cause, she would leave him forever. He began passionately explaining that he would rather cut off his own hands than harm her, but she turned suddenly and dived below the water and was gone. Llyn was greatly upset and disappointed at this. He decided that rather than live without her, he would drown himself in the lake. Climbing to the top of a nearby cliff, near the water's edge, he prepared to throw himself off. As he was just about to jump, an almighty voice boomed from the lake. "Do not jump! Come down here and hear what I tell you." The man had silver-streaked black hair, but otherwise all the strength of youth. He told the young man he would agree to the marriage, providing the young man could distinguish which of the 3 ladies was the one he loved. This was no easy task, as they were identical in every way. However, the young man noticed that one of them thrust her foot a little forward. The movement, although slight, did not escape him. He also saw that the sandal was tied in a slightly different way. Now he had no doubt, because he had thought before how strangely her shoe was fastened. He boldly took hold of her hand. The old man smiled and said, "You have chosen rightly, and now you must be a kind and loving husband. For a wedding dowry, I will give you as many sheep, goats, cattle, pigs, horses, chickens and dogs that she can count without taking a breath. And remember that if you ever strike her 3 causeless blows, the marriage contract will be broken. She will return to me with all she takes with her, and you and her will be parted forever." Then, one day, while they were getting ready to attend a wedding, her husband asked her to go and fetch one of the horses from the field. "I will," she said, "if you will bring me my gloves which I left in our home." He went for the gloves. Then, finding she had not yet gone for the horses, he playfully slapped her on the shoulder with one of them, saying, "Dos, dos, go, go." She reminded him of the terms of which she had agreed to marry him. She warned him to be more careful in the future, as he had now given her one causeless blow. Some time later they attended a christening, and the guests were greatly enjoying themselves when the wife started sobbing. Her husband, embarrassed, tapped her on the shoulder and inquired the cause of the weeping. "For these people trouble lies ahead," she said, "and for you, unless you take care. You have now for a second time struck me without cause." Shortly after the christening, the prophecy she spoke of came true. After much suffering, the baby died, and they attended the funeral service at the church in Midfai. Naturally, it was a solemn and sorrowful occasion, and all mourned the loss of the baby. In the middle of the ceremony, while everyone hung their heads in grief, and to the astonishment of all, she suddenly threw back her head and laughed joyfully out loud. The other mourners turned their heads and looked at her in astonishment and disbelief. "What is the matter with you?" asked her astonished, embarrassed husband, lightly tapping her on the shoulder. She replied, "I laugh and am happy because I see the infant at last healthy and happy and free of pain. Oh, my love, you have struck me the 3rd time with a causeless blow. Now I must return to my own world. Farewell, my beloved, farewell, for we can never meet again." But the bond of a mother is strong, and one day she appeared to her sons in the valley. She promised to meet them whenever her counsel or aid was required. Taking aside her firstborn, she told him that he was to be a healer to mankind, curing all manner of diseases. Then she gave to each of them a bag, which held the key to the cure of many diseases. True to her word, she met with her sons when they needed her help, and pointed out the different medical qualities of many plants and herbs. Her 3 sons became known as the physicians of Midfai, and brought great relief to many with their healing skills. In turn, they married and had families of their own, passing on their healing knowledge and skills to the children, and they, in turn, to theirs. In this way, the healing arts of the other world pass through the generations to this present day.